Good morning, everybody. I hope we are all doing well on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Today's workshop topic, workplace health and safety. We're going to get into it today, guys. There's a lot of things out there that we need to be doing to protect ourselves when we're working, when we're job searching. So we're going to get into that discussion today, okay? Let's go through some announcements first before we get started, and then we'll start. So, again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's workshop. This week's topic for workshop is workplace health and safety. We would like for you all to join us by clicking on the video with the blinking purple border on our page. So if you're watching the video with no blinking border, guys, please join us above or below for the watch party. I have heard some iPads are still making it unable for folks to join the watch party. Again, reminding you, this has also been a problem for me. So if this is an issue for you, try to watch the workshop on your phone or computer instead, as this may help. And you will probably be able to join the watch party that way. Again, I want to thank you all for participating, whether it is during workshop time from 11 to 12 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday, or whether you watch the video at a later time. You're all great and appreciated. Also, please join us for the discussion afterwards. It's a good time for us to get social and for you to tell us your thoughts and opinions. And remember, please like our video after watching it. Okay? Now, let's get started. Oh, and sorry, just one thing. Just a heads up, everybody. We will be changing the way we do workshops, which I will talk more about at the end of today's workshop. Workshops on Tuesday will now be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday workshops will continue to be from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Okay? So you guys just watch out for the changes. We're going to try to do an hour video on Tuesdays with an hour of discussion afterwards, just for all of those who like to pop in a little bit later. And Thursdays will be formatted differently, which again, I will mention at the end of our workshop today. All right, with that said, let's get started with our review for last week's workshop, guys. So this is the time where I have some questions for you. Remember, our topic from last week's workshop was dressing for success. So my question to you guys today is, what are some things you should do to prepare for your interview or the first day of work, the morning of it? Okay? So if you guys can take 2 minutes, starting about right now, and answer that question for me. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very good, guys. I'll just go through the list that we discussed to be a bit more descriptive from last week, okay? Just so that we're very clear on specific things that we had talked about last week, but very good, everybody. So, shower the night before or the morning of the interview. Set an alarm. Wash your hair and body. Put on deodorant. Brush your teeth and floss. No one wants to see that piece of broccoli sticking out of your teeth. Make sure your hair is neat, presentable, and clean. If you're a smoker, chew gum before going in and take some hand wipes so your hands don't stink, or wash your hands as soon as you get in the building. Check your breath, or if you have a friend, partner, or worker with you, get them to check it for you. Take out facial piercings until you know the culture of the place you work. Okay, so that's just for general things that you should do on the day of your interview or on the morning of your first day of work. Just make sure you're all in check and ready to go and prepared to get out there, make your best impression, and show your best self. Okay? Awesome. Dressing for success, guys. It's important in every aspect. Okay. So, heading back to our topic for this week, which is health and safety in the workplace, or workplace health and safety, We're going to start with our discussion on a few of the different pamphlets that I came across, okay? These pamphlets, they discuss the concerns of health and safety for different industries. I have the link to the website, and I will also post this link on Facebook after today's workshop. So, the first pamphlet we are going to go through is the Reopening for Business one. Over the last couple of months, and I'll pop those up for you. Over the last couple of months, Alberta has started reopening in phases, and a few have been concerned because we aren't aware of what businesses are providing and expecting of their employees. All right, which could be definitely surprising, or expecting of their employers and employees. Okay, so let's talk about some of those employer expectations. Bam. So make sure that the employer's responsibilities, guys. So we're going to talk about employer's expectations, then we're going to talk about the employee expectations and what follows after that. So we're going to start with the employer and what they're expected to do for the businesses that have been reopening. They are to make sure workers know about the virus and how to minimize its spread. They are also to set a clear policy for what is expected for workers if they get sick, have symptoms, or if an exposure is reported at the organization or business. Employers are also supposed to do everything possible under the circumstances to protect the health and safety of workers and customers by providing adequate information, training, sanitation, and personal protective equipment. Employers should also consider having a phased-in approach when recalling workers, as we've been going through that, such as only recalling those workers that are needed for specific functions initially. If it is possible for some workers to continue working remotely, they should do so. Individuals living with immunocompromising health conditions, including chronic conditions such as diabetes, heart or lung issues, cancer, etc., or who live with individuals who are immunocompromised, may need to continue to work remotely. Okay? It's very important. It's very important that employers know what steps they need to take to protect their workers. And now we should talk about a little bit about what us as employees are expected of doing, okay? So isn't it good to know that employers are expected to do specific things to make sure that their employees are safe? I think so. But along with expectations of employers in the workplace, there are also expectations for employees. So employee expectations for businesses reopening are as follows here. Practice physical distancing by keeping more than 2 meters, 6 feet apart from coworkers and customers. Continue to follow all safe work procedures. If it is unsafe to work, they should talk to their supervisor, health and safety committee or representative, and or union. Stay home if you are sick or might be sick. Follow the Public Health Agency of Canada's steps for self-assessment. They also have the link for that for the self-assessment attached to the pamphlets, which I can also attach to the Facebook page for any of those who would like to just see what it looks like or use it personally. Employees should avoid touching their face. They should also wash their hands at the start of their shift, before eating or drinking, after touching shared items, after using the washroom, and before leaving work. Remove jewelry while washing. So for those of you that are allowed to wear rings and stuff at work or bracelets, make sure all of that stuff is removed so that you can wash your hands properly and thoroughly. Now, the expectations for employers and employees are not the only steps needed for businesses to reopen, guys. There are other steps that businesses should take in response to the COVID pandemic. Let's go through some of those now. Sanitation steps. All right, so I'm going to just read through my whole pamphlet so that you guys get all the details of everything that I've been reading on today in regards to what the requirements are for reopening a business under sanitation steps, okay? So sanitation steps. Increase ventilation and fresh air return where possible. Make sure washrooms are cleaned frequently, have running water, and are stocked with soap, paper towels, and a plastic-lined waste container. Visibly dirty hands must be washed with soap and water. Provide hand sanitizer at customer service areas, entrances and exits, checkouts, and help desks. Clean offices, lunchrooms, and workspaces at least once per day, and more often for high traffic areas and contact surfaces. Focus on frequently touched and shared surfaces such as keys, doors, handles, carts, handrails, light switches, shelves, countertops, drawers, keyboards and mice, like in my office, touch screens, payment keypads, cash drawers, pens, tools, phones, radios, vending machines, tables, chairs, and kitchen equipment. It's a lot of things they got to make sure that you're clean. They got to pretty much clean everything in the office when it comes to sanitation steps, or in the business, not even just the office, but in the business in general. Provide enough items for each worker, such as phones, tablets, walkie-talkies, tools, etc. If items must be shared, clean with alcohol or disinfectant wipes between users. Continue to wash your hands often. Supply soap and water or hand sanitizer. Provide workers with wipes or other ways to clean their workspace. Line waste containers with plastic bags to reduce exposure when emptying the container. So those are just a few of the sanitation steps expected for anybody who's reopening their business as of lately. What to do when using cleaning products. Make sure workers understand the risk and safety precautions when using cleaning products. This is what your employers are supposed to do for you guys. They are supposed to provide you guys with personal protective equipment that they need to safely use cleaning products, and make sure they use them correctly. Dispose of used tissues, wipes, gloves, and other cleaning materials in a plastic-lined waste container. Use disposable gloves when handling garbage. Okay? Staff management. Ask all workers to check in when they arrive for work. Do not allow people on site if they are sick or might be sick. So if somebody is sick at the workplace, guys, you don't have to worry, because somebody is definitely watching, right? But if you do notice that somebody's sick and they didn't get caught, of course, absolutely mention it. Or if you're concerned, ask them how they're feeling and if they should be at work today, right? But there is a whole process. Like every time I come into the office, we have to check our temperature, we have to sanitize our hands, and then we have to sign in stating that we checked our temperature before we come in. There's a whole sign-in process now every time we come into the office. So it's probably the same for all those workers out in every other field too. Staff management, back to it. All right, so minimize contact during sign-in. Have the supervisor do roll call and sign in for people, or provide separate pens, or have people text their supervisor. Clean any sign-in devices between users. Make sure workers are trained to work safely, including when replacing the duties of others. Train workers on how to work with and care for personal protective equipment, and to understand its limitations. Submit all documents, such as reports and forms, electronically, or wash hands after handling papers. Remove communal coat check areas and shared footwear or clothing. Have workers store their personal items in separate lockers or in sealed bins bags. Provide designated uniforms that are laundered by a service, or encourage workers to wear clothes that can be washed frequently. Stagger meetings, breaks, team talks, and orientations to minimize the number of workers in one place. Hold in-person meetings outdoors, which I like to do with my teammates, or in large areas that allow for physical distancing. Communicate corporate information electronically. Hold worker orientations verbally to avoid touching papers. Consider designating work teams into groups and alternating or scheduling when groups report to work to minimize contact. Now we're going to talk about physical distancing in the workplace. Continue to allow workers to work remotely where possible. Assess the need to report directly to the workplace on an individual or job role basis, which all of the businesses that are open now have definitely evaluated and made sure that the amount of people that are coming in and working, so on and so forth, are good to do so. Spread out workers to increase distancing. Use every other workstation and or use spare rooms or meeting spaces as work areas to separate workers. So notice, guys, that in a few places, I can't remember where I was last night, I think it was Sobeys, but every other till is available, and they only have 2 self-serve booths open at Sobeys, right? So you got to be very careful and watch not only what your business is doing, but how customers are reacting to the situations, and if they need some direction, then help them with that. If you're working, if you're somebody who's job searching in one of these businesses, make sure to follow the rules like the rest of the customers, okay? All right, employers are to provide barriers such as plexiglass, plastic sheeting, partitions, etc. When workers cannot be spaced appropriately, when workers cannot be spaced appropriately, do not use items that have gaps or holes, such as plants or trolleys. Do not create tripping hazards or blind spot areas when setting up barriers. Post signs to remind people to practice physical distancing, good respiratory etiquette, and hand hygiene. Consider how people will use shared spaces such as the cafeteria, lunchroom, changing rooms, and washrooms. Keep close contact to a minimum and less than 15 minutes. Allow only one person at a time if spacing cannot be maintained, and post signs to indicate the sign is being used. Continue to postpone non-essential face-to-face events or meetings. Manage pedestrian traffic flow by using markings, posters, or barriers. Encourage private transportation where possible, including bikes, and provide storage. Stagger working hours to avoid crowded public transit. Limit visitors. Reschedule or limit appointments with suppliers, vendors, service technicians, and others where possible. So your employers are responsible for physical distancing, not only of just you guys, the workers, or you guys as customers, but also as those people that are coming in with supplies for the stores, vendors, all different kinds of people that are coming in. All right. Conducting business. So employers are to continue to use and or offer low contact services such as online ordering, online or phone check-ins meetings, delivery, curbside pickup, or barriers. Limit how many customers can enter a business at one time. Mark standing distances and traffic flow using tape, posters, etc. There's a lot of those 6 feet 2 meter signs posted everywhere nowadays, which are awesome to remind you of how far you should be standing away from somebody. Not everybody always follows them, but make sure you encourage that they follow it by you standing on the sticker at a place specifically like Dollarama, right? Dollarama has them all the way through their customer service line, going up to their front counter. Okay, excuse me. All right. Consider offering services by appointment only to limit the number of appointments per day, which we do here at the office. Provide supplies and time to clean commonly touched items, including cash registers, laundry carts, grocery carts, etc. Remove communal items such as glassware, utensils, and in-store or in-room tea or coffee machines. Do not offer services that involve close person-to-person proximity. Example, garment fittings. So a lot of us can't go into change rooms to try on clothes right now. Or you can try on the clothes, but you put them in a laundry basket right after you've tried them on. Or hold activities such as buffet-style food or drink events, valet services, face-to-face meetings, large gatherings, or conferences. Ask passengers of public transit to enter and exit using rear doors away from the driver. Provide areas to change clothes at the end of a shift. Bring clothes home in a separate bag and wash before re-wearing. Determine if the use of face coverings or personal protective equipment is appropriate and acceptable to your workplace, workers, and or customers. Consider any current recommendations from public health or other authorities when determining these measures. All right, mental health. This is a really big thing for a lot of people, both in the workplace and out of the workplace right now. So employers need to understand that each person will have had a different experience and reaction to the pandemic and to the physical distancing and isolation measures. Some individuals may be ready to reintegrate into everyday activities, while others may wish to continue to practice physical distancing. Some will choose to cover their face with a mask or other face covering, even if not required by the workplace. Provide information and reassurance about the measures the workplace is taking. So if you guys have any questions or concerns about the measures that your business is taking because of the COVID pandemic, ask them. Ask your supervisors what they're doing. If it's not like fully visible, if you're not required to do any of these extra things like extra sanitation here at the office is sanitized 4 times a day by different staff members. Our offices have to be sanitized at least once a day. Anytime we have a meeting with a client, after that meeting, it needs to be sanitized. We have to use plastic chairs in our offices. There's so many different things. But your employer should provide information and reassurance about the measures the workplace is taking in regards to mental health of dealing with this situation. They should also address any anxiety or fear that may be expressed by you guys. And they must also try to understand that individuals may be experiencing grief over the loss of a friend or family member due to this COVID experience. I'm hoping that none of you guys have had anybody pass away. I haven't heard that we've lost anybody here in Red Deer from COVID, so that's a blessing in itself. All right. What to do if you know someone is struggling. If you or someone you know is struggling. Talk to your employer or supervisor, guys. Someone trained in mental health first aid, or someone else you trust about what you are experiencing. Here at the office, I am somebody who is trained in mental health first aid. Now, I can't counsel you guys, but I can definitely help you find the right resources to make sure that you're getting the supports that you need during this time, both while you're at work or at home. Some people have already talked to me about some of those resources and how to access them. So guys, remember, if you guys have any questions about some resources that you need because you're having a really hard time, whether or not you're working, please let one of us, your staff, know. Me, Sadie, or Jen will be able to help you find any information you need on any of the resources in the city that can help you with everything that's going on. So, talk to your employer or us. Contact your employee assistance service if available. Contact your local public health or community resources that offer mental health services, just like I had mentioned. Check out organizations online like Canadian Mental Health Association, where we get a lot of our training from, and they're great. Canadian Psychological Association and the Kids Help Phone, okay? Now, if a coworker has been severely ill. While many people recover from COVID-19 without needing hospitalization, estimates are that 1 in 6 become severely ill. While the knowledge of this illness and its effects will continue to grow, it appears that individuals who required intensive care may have further challenges with muscle weakness and problems with memory and concentration. In some cases, people take a long time before they can return to work. Be supportive. Collaboration between the worker and the employer will be necessary to develop and support an appropriate accommodation plan for return to work when needed. Okay? And also, employers are to provide mental health support to all workers, including access to an employee assistance program, EAP, if it's available. All right? There's lots and lots of information, guys, lots of resources that you can access out there. So again, if you need any help or have any questions for the resources, please feel free to ask us so that we can help you guys out. It's question time, everybody, now that I've done a lot of the talking. So, 1 second. Uh-oh. I'm a little frozen. 1 second, guys. Oh, not today. Let's close that. Try this one more time. Oh, man. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. I apologize. Internet seems to be continuously fleeting sometimes in the office. Just give me a moment here and I'll try to fix this. Okay. Just bear with me, guys. Almost ready. Almost good to go again. There. Awesome. Sorry, if I had gotten the question up, I would have been able to give you guys your 2 minutes there, but I did not get a chance before it froze on me. So now I should be able to do so. Okay. Question time. There we go. Sorry about the technical difficulties. So, there are a lot of considerations that have been put into opening businesses back up in Alberta. And if you are still feeling concerned about what's happening out there, talk to someone about the situation, guys. Now, since I've been doing all the talking as of the last little bit, I have a question for you all. What are your worries about COVID and work or job searching? Okay? You have 2 minutes to let me know how you guys are feeling about it, starting now. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thanks for sharing, guys. There are so many worries, but the best part about these worries is that they are being heard not only by our families or workers, but by employers and businesses in general as well. Oh, excuse me, I forgot to add animation. So we just went through what businesses are expected to do to make sure the opening is safe and successful for everyone involved. Now let's talk about working in retail specifically, because we got a few retailers. The expectations for employers who have retail businesses are as follows, okay? Make sure workers know about the virus and how to minimize its spread, just like the reopening business one. Set a clear policy for what is expected of workers if they get sick, have symptoms, and if an exposure is reported at the store. And do everything possible under the circumstances to protect the health and safety of workers and customers by providing adequate information, training, sanitation, and personal protective equipment. These are all the expectations of employers. Now, the expectations of employees working in the retail business are as follows here. Continue to follow all safe work procedures. If it is unsafe to work, you guys should talk to your supervisor, health and safety committee or representative, and or union. Stay home if you're sick or might be sick. Follow the Public Health Agency of Canada steps for self-assessment. Again, we'll be posting that link on our Facebook page after today's workshop. Avoid touching your face, guys. Don't touch your face. And remember, wash your hands before your shift, before eating and drinking, after touching shared items, after using the washroom, and before leaving the store. Always remember to remove your jewelry while you're washing your hands. Now, just like there are other expectations for businesses reopening, there are the same expectations specifically for those working in retail. So let's go through those details together. Store sanitation. All right, so for store sanitation, we must increase, the employers must increase ventilation and fresh air return where possible. Now they've put this in the front of sanitation just because the more free flowing air out of the store, the better it is for that virus not hanging out in the store, right? Since I guess it's also possible of it being airborne, right? So the better the ventilation in the store, that should make the situation better. Make sure washrooms are cleaned frequently, have running water, and are stocked with soap, paper towels, and a plastic-lined waste container. Visibly dirty hands must be washed with soap and water. Provide hand sanitizer at customer service areas, entrances and exits, checkouts, and help desks, okay? Same sanitation process for all businesses is the exact same for retail. Clean offices, lunchrooms, and workspaces at least once per day and more often for high traffic areas and contact surfaces. Focus on frequently touched and shared surfaces such as, again, keys, doors, handles, carts, handrails, light switches, shelves, countertops, drawers, keyboards and mice, touchscreens, payment pads, cash drawers, pens, tools, phones, radios, vending machines, tables, chairs, and kitchen equipment. Clean shared equipment, phones, and tables with alcohol or disinfectant wipes, of course. Make sure workers understand the risks and safety precautions when using cleaning products. Employers should provide workers with the personal protective equipment they need to safely use cleaning products and make sure they use them correctly. Everyone should dispose of used tissues, wipes, gloves, and other cleaning materials in a plastic-lined waste container. Use disposable gloves when handling garbage. All right, so a lot of these things back in the day we used to do without gloves. Now you gotta wear gloves when you handle the garbage. A few people like to have garbage cans without plastic bags in it. That's a problem. Make sure you have a plastic bag in your garbage bin so that it's not an issue, okay? Keeping it clean, both in the stores, but also at home. Staff management, okay? So what is the employer going to do to manage their staff? They're going to ask all workers to check in when they arrive for work. Do not allow people on site if they are sick or might be sick, which is their responsibility, and they should definitely do. They should minimize contact during sign-in. So the supervisor should do a roll call and sign in for people, or provide separate pens, or have people text their supervisor. And clean any sign-in devices between users. Make sure workers are trained to work safely before replacing the duties of others. Train workers on how to work with and care for personal protective equipment and to understand its limitations. Now we're starting to get into the more detailed areas of work of somebody who's working in retail and what is expected of both their employer and the employee, okay? Minimize unnecessary visitors. Conduct meetings virtually and reschedule non-critical maintenance and service calls if possible. Submit all documents such as reports and forms electronically, or wash hands after handling papers. Remove shared cutlery and tableware from lunchrooms. Remove communal coat check areas and shared footwear or clothing. Have workers store their personal items in separate lockers or in sealed bins or bags. Provide designated uniforms that are laundered by a service, or encourage workers to wear clothes that can be washed frequently. Stagger meetings, breaks, team talks, and orientations to minimize the number of workers in one place. Hold in-person meetings outdoors or in large areas that allow for physical distancing. Communicate corporate information electronically. Hold worker orientations verbally to avoid touching papers. Okay? Then we move on to store practices and policies. All right. Okay. Store practices and policies. Clearly communicate to your customers any new practices or policies that will affect their shopping or service experience. Post these changes on your website, on the front doors, and via email. Post a notice that customers who may be sick, have been exposed to someone sick, or have just returned to Canada should not enter the store. Now, this is what employers are doing to protect their employees in regards to customers who are coming in and out. You don't know their situation, you don't know their standing. So what are our employers doing to protect us as employees from the customers or the clients that come in to see us? Promote home delivery, pre-ordering or reservation, or curbside pickup. Limit the number of customers allowed into the store at one time. Provide a waiting line area outdoors if it is safe to do so. Ask customers to designate one person from the family to do the shopping. The rest of the family should wait in their vehicle or stay at home, especially children. Limit the time allowed in the store to discourage unnecessary shopping or browsing. Post signs reminding customers not to handle items unnecessarily, touching each piece of produce, sifting through bins of products, which is interesting because when I went to Banff this past weekend, before you go into those rock gem stores that have all those pretty rocks that you're able to touch, you have to sanitize your hands, and then you have to put on a pair of plastic gloves because people cannot help but touch the shiny rocks in those stores, me included, guys. So yes, employers are definitely coming up with a lot of ways to protect both the items in their store and the people that are coming into their store as well. Okay, add 2 meter, 6 feet markers to the floors to promote social distancing. In aisles, lineups, and self-service cash registers, consider creating one-way aisles. Okay, so this has happened pretty much in every store I've been into. I don't know about you guys, but there's arrows pointing in what direction you should go down specific aisles. There's foot markers on the floor showing how far away you should be standing from somebody, 6 feet to 2 meters. Okay. Clean carts and baskets with disinfectant wipes between each customer use, or make disinfectant wipes available to customers before they use a cart or basket, which I've seen both at many places. Use a separate drop-off area for used carts and shopping baskets. Reduce the need for customers to browse and touch products and store fixtures. If possible, ask them what they need so a staff member can get the items. Limit the amount of stock placed out for sale to minimize contact. If possible, let customers know that empty bins or shelves are not necessarily indicative of a shortage. Shorten store hours or set closure days to allow for deep cleaning. They got a lot for this one, guys. So, set designated or assisted shopping hours for vulnerable customers, such as seniors or persons who are immunocompromised. Encourage the use of credit and debit cards. Sanitize payment keypads and touchscreens between each transaction. If handling cash, wash or sanitize hands after each transaction, or wear single-use gloves. Designate specific checkouts for each use. Suspend the use of reusable bags, reusable cups, and travel mugs. Ask customers to bag their groceries. Install barriers at cash registers if available. Remove customer access to touchscreens and computers, such as terminals, to check prices or stock, or sanitize them often. Extend or add flexibility to return policies and deadlines. Suspend returns or keep returned items in a separate area and sanitize before restocking. Remove materials that cannot be easily cleaned, such as newspapers and flyers, demo and sample items, children's play area toys, and complimentary food and beverage stations, which I'm missing so much. Love stopping in the mall at Bauer and getting a sample of a Cinnabon. Remove customer code check areas, okay? So there's a lot of things that employers are expected to do under retail. There are a lot of practices that have been put into place to protect us as employees, but also as customers. That is why this workshop is for everyone. We all need to know what our workplaces are doing to make sure that we are being kept safe, whether you are working there or shopping there. So my question to you guys, since it's question time, how do you guys feel about going out now? All right? You have 2 minutes. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, everybody. So I've just made a couple of posts on Facebook in regards to today's workshop. So just because I'm starting a little bit late myself. And because we're changing the format of our workshop, it's going to be stretched a little bit out. So right now, while I'm recording, I'm just about to be finished here in the next 10 minutes. So I'm going to be starting at 11:15 today. But bear with us because we will get back on track with our workshops running at the right time. In regards to your responses, guys, thank you for sharing. I know sometimes that we feel uncomfortable about going out. Some of us aren't ready, and some of us are just ready to run. We're ready to go and get out there because we've been trapped in our houses and our homes for so long. So again, thank you for sharing. I know I've had both feelings, like not leaving the house and then wanting to just go and do everything. So I get it, and I'm there with you guys, okay? Let's move on. Transportation. So, I can only imagine how many of you are concerned about taking public transportation. So we are going to talk about what the plan is for drivers, bus drivers, and cabbies alike, okay? And everybody else who delivers goods to people, or does any kind of delivery service, or works for Canada Post, any of those things. First off, let's discuss how the drivers protect themselves and others. Okay, let's discuss some of those suggestions now. Continue to follow all safe work procedures. If it is unsafe to work, talk to your supervisor, health and safety committee or representative, and or union. Practice physical distancing by staying more than 2 meters, 6 feet apart from others. Stay home if you're sick or might be sick. Follow the Public Health Agency of Canada's steps for self-assessment, which I will post later. Watch your hands at the start of your shift, before eating and drinking. For them, after fueling, after touching items such as boxes, clipboards, pens, and papers, after using the washroom, and at the end of their shift. And of course, remove jewelry while washing your hands. Do not share communication devices as well. So for people in their cars, that would be radios, right? Personal protective equipment, cigarettes, or vaping equipment. None of those things should be shared. Now there are a few sections that we can go through about drivers in the public sector and even in their own even us in our own personal vehicles. On the road. Oh, let me open up my pamphlet. So, on the road, safety is still a priority even if traffic is later. Make sure drivers take required breaks for their physical and mental health. So employers who have people working under them as drivers, as a truck driver, as a cab, as somebody who is a taxi driver, delivery drivers, ambulance, like all of these people, all of these drivers, this is what employers need to do to make sure that they stay safe, okay? And even us as staff going out on the streets and helping you guys and meeting up with you guys, these are also things that we have to do as well. So on the road, safety is still a priority. Even if traffic is lighter, they need to make sure that drivers take required breaks for their physical and mental health. Keep hand sanitizer, wipes, or soap and water stocked in vehicles, which I do all the time. Provide disposable gloves for fueling, which I don't have, but I should probably get because it would be a really good idea. But I do hand sanitize as soon as I get back in the car. Provide personal protective equipment such as a respirator, face shield, gloves, and long sleeve shirts if appropriate. Provide an essential worker letter that explains that essential deliveries are being made. While this letter is not legally required, it may be useful when dealing with law enforcement personnel enforcing a local shelter-in-place declaration. So for drivers who are going across the border and are traveling back and forth, these things would definitely be necessary for them. Tips for drivers, okay, all different kinds. Have credit cards ready. Some border crossings and toll roads are electronic to reduce the need to handle cash and coins. Check the expiry date of any necessary licenses and your passport, especially if you're going across the border. Contact the appropriate agency to see if extensions are available. Note that passports are still required and Canadians can apply online. Stay in regular contact with your office. Send text or call to alert of your arrival when reaching a client. All right. Clean your truck or vehicle daily, including the phone, cab, radio, tablets, cargo door handles, seat belts, steering wheels, mirrors, gear shift control knobs, buttons, latches and handles, personal protective equipment, clipboards, and pens. And I clean all of this stuff in my car on a regular day. So wipe down commonly touched surfaces in hotel or bunk shower rooms, including tables, chairs, phones, handles, and doorknobs. So again, if you're staying out of town as a driver, you want to make sure that your hotel room is also disinfected, right? Try to shower and change clothes each day. Limit visits to drivers, lounges, truck stops, repair shops, and other gathering places. All right. Now, when making stops, there we go. Drivers should reduce contact with others where possible. Stay in the cab when talking to others. Keep people out of the cab. Maintain physical distance from others when outside of a truck. Wear personal protective equipment if available and appropriate. Send documents electronically or place them against the window if possible. Don't shake hands, wave, or nod to greet others. If it helps, keep your hands in your pockets. Some organizations may have changed their site entry, docking, and delivery procedures. Follow their recommendations while maintaining your distance. Ask about hand washing facilities for drivers. Always wash your hands after each delivery or stop, especially in public areas. I can't imagine what Canada Post is having to do at this time. It seems like they're responsible for a lot. So for those of you still receiving packages at your front doors or having to go and pick them up at the post office, seems like they're definitely having to make sure that they keep fully sanitized, and that's really good to know. Administration and management. Assign drivers to the same equipment for as long as possible to minimize switching. Communicate any policy changes such as site access to or required personal protective equipment to all staff, drivers, and customers. Okay, so there's quite a few things that they want you to do for the administration and management part. I just want to mention a couple just to make you guys aware that when it comes to steps for transportation and people who are picking up people on buses and driving people in cabs and driving trucks, like there's a whole bunch of things that they need to do too to keep themselves protected as well as the people that they're delivering to protected. Okay. Now, I was gonna ask you guys another question, but I think I'm gonna skip this question and save it for our discussion, okay? Because I really do want to know what you guys' thoughts are. Restaurant and food services. Now we're going to move on to the last pamphlet that I'm going to discuss today. This pamphlet is about the restaurant and food industry, which affects us all, workers, customers, and employers alike. Some of the things that employers must do are as follows. Make sure workers know about the virus and how to minimize its spread, like mentioned before. Set a clear policy for what is expected of workers if they get sick, have symptoms, or if an exposure is reported at the restaurant or store. Do everything reasonably possible under the circumstance to protect the health and safety of workers and customers by providing adequate information, training, sanitation, and personal protective equipment. Okay. The expectations of workers/employees is as follows. Practice physical distancing by keeping more than 2 meters, 6 feet apart from customers and coworkers. Continue to follow all safe work procedures. If it is unsafe to work, you should talk to your supervisor, health and safety committee or representative, and our union guys. Stay home if you're sick. Wash your hands at the start of your shift, before eating and drinking, after touching shared items, after using the washroom, after handling cash or credit debit cards, after touching common items, after each transaction if contact was made, and at the end of your shift. Always remove your jewelry while watching, and don't touch your face. Okay? Now let's go through the sections of this pamphlet really quickly. This is my last slide. So now I hope you all have noticed that each of these pamphlets makes similar suggestions on how you should carry yourself or how your employer should in regards to the new world we live in. But there are still differences that are specific to other industry areas, like food service. Let's go through the sections of this pamphlet. Store sanitation. In addition to food safety practices, which have been in place for years already, use a disinfectant or bleach solution to destroy or inactivate the virus. Wear appropriate PPE, such as gloves suitable for the cleaning agent. Use a dedicated cloth for cleaning. Clean so that when the surface is wiped, the surface still appears wet. Make sure workers understand the risks, have received training, and understand the safety precautions for all cleaning methods and require PPE. Make sure washrooms are cleaned frequently, of course, have running water, and are stocked with soap, paper towels, and a plastic-lined waste container. Visibly dirty hands must be washed and with soap and water. And guys, if you go into the bathroom at a restaurant and notice that there isn't paper towel there, please let one of the waitresses know. You know, some places I've went into and I noticed that they're out of paper towels sometimes, so make sure you let somebody know. Now, staff management. Ask all workers to check in when they arrive, of course, and if they're sick, they need to stay home, and they need to not be on site whatsoever, especially when it comes to food, right? Stagger start times and or minimize contact during sign-in. All right, remove communal coats, right? Every, like uniforms and stuff should be laundered or should be cleaned once you get home. Stagger meetings, of course, that's what they need to do as staff management. All right, communicate corporate information electronically through an email instead of papers. Hold worker orientations verbally to avoid touching papers. Okay. Restaurant and store practices and policies. And just to let you guys know, I won't be able to go through every specific thing, but again, I will be leaving the website link on our Facebook page so that you guys have access to this, okay? So I don't have time to go through the restaurant, store practices, and procedures, all of them, but I'm gonna go through a couple. So what they're gonna be doing is clearly communicate to their customers any new practices and policies that will affect their shopping or service experience, and post those changes on their website and social media, on the front doors, and via email. Use signs and markings to direct customers to indicate appropriate distances to stand, to mark direction of travel, to designate entrances and exits, or to identify a drive-through lane or pickup zone. And if customers can still come inside your store, post a notice that customers who may be sick, have been exposed to someone sick, or who have just returned to Canada may not enter. So all of these things are very important, especially more so in regards to restaurants, store practices and policies. And there's quite a few more bullet points, guys, so I really suggest that you guys take the time to take a look through this website. They have more than one pamphlet on more than one industry. They even have some information, general wearing mask information, pre-screening information. They have all kinds of really cool pamphlets that you guys should definitely take a look at when you get a chance, okay? Again, the link will be posted on Facebook later today after our workshop. All right. Now, let's talk Thursday, everybody. So thank you for joining us for today's workshop again. We always are happy to have you all participating with us every week. Please join us for the discussion afterwards, which will happen right after this. Also, please join us for the next workshop on Thursday, okay? So starting on Thursday, we are going to have a different format of workshops for that day of the week. They will be discussion-based and will focus on the questions and concerns of those that are working already. This discussion will be an ongoing discussion throughout the week that all of us staff will be checking on daily. I also want to remind you guys to like our video, okay? Like it. This is the best proof we have of you all having watched the videos we post if you aren't joining us during the watch party. So for those of you who made previous arrangements with your staff about letting us know when you have watched the workshops, please continue to do what is planned for you specifically. All right, everybody. Now, again, I want to thank you guys for your patience, and I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed today's workshop. It's a long one, but we got some good information. Thanks, guys.